everyone, welcome to Birch and Lily. Today is August 13th and this is my podcast about knitting and cross stitch. My name is Amanda and there are two places you can find me on the internet. The first is on Instagram at birch.and.lily and the second is on Ravelry as Birch and Lily. If you have any questions about what I talk about today on the podcast, be sure to check the show notes down below in the description. And if I do miss anything, please feel free to ask any questions you have down in the comments below. I love to hear from you guys. And finally, before we get started today, please, if you like what you see, click that subscribe button and the little bell so that you get notifications when I upload new videos. I upload every second Tuesday. So we might as well jump right into finished objects. I'm wearing one right now, if you haven't noticed. This is my Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. For this sweater, I knit the size small, and I used Knit Picks Stroll Tweed held double in the Flagstone Heather and Indigo Heather colorways. So I guess I will stand up so that you guys can see the finished object a little bit better. So I have my mic on here. I hope it's not too much in the way for you guys, but this is my Weekender, and I am so incredibly happy. I think I had talked last episode about how I was hoping that it would grow a little bit, and it definitely did. The sleeves are the perfect length. It's got the perfect amount of positive ease. I think it's going to be the perfect cozy fall and winter sweater. So yeah, like I said, I knit the size small and I went down one needle size for every called for needle of what it was called for in the pattern. That made no sense. I went down, okay, so there's 3 needles called for in the pattern, and each one of those needles I went down a size. So I used a 4.25 millimeter, a 4.5 millimeter, and a 5 millimeter needle. I believe that's a US 6, 7, and 8. So use the smallest needle to cast on at the bottom, and then you switch to the second smallest needle, the middle size for the ribbing, and the body is all knit in the largest needle. And I'm trying to think what else I can say or tell you guys. It uses a tubular cast on and bind off, which I have never done before, and I am so incredibly in love with. It just fits. Or not fits. You can see the green shirt I have under here. It just makes such a professional edge. Don't know if you can tell here on the sleeves even. It just makes the most professional looking edge. I did knit the sleeves a little bit longer than what was called for in the pattern, just because I like to be able to pull them up over my hand like this when I'm cold. And the body is knit to the called for length. I did stretch it ever so slightly when I blocked it, just because when I had tried it on before blocking, I wished it was a little bit longer, but that was an easy fix. And if I can stand on my tippy toes enough, you can see the split hem here. This is something I've never done before as well, and I absolutely love the look of it. Just adds a little bit more interest to the sweater, as well as the slip stitch detail that runs on the front, and it's also on the back. So yeah, very, very happy with how this turned out. I would highly recommend holding the Knit Picks Stroll Tweed double if you want to knit a Weekender. First of all, it's dirt cheap. The price was totally reasonable, and I think I grabbed this yarn when they were having a sale, so it made it even more reasonable. Plus, it's just so soft for the price that you're paying for the yarn. It's super cozy and wonderful, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, I guess I'll give you guys one more look. I'm definitely wearing shorts because it's warm out. Here we go. I guess one other thing I can say, I know some people have been unhappy with how their collar turned out, that it was just a little bit too tight. They bound it off too tight. But I am very, very happy with how mine ended up. It's not too loose. It stays up on my shoulders really well, but it's not too tight, because I know that's one of the complaints I've had with some of the other sweaters I've knit, is that the collar always seems to end up too tight and it sits really high. Especially with wool, I find it itchy on my neck, so the fact that this sits lower is awesome. And I'm not finding it itchy on my arms at all. It has this ribbing running around the neck, and then because of the positive ease, it has more of a dropped shoulder and the ribbing runs down the arm. And then this was a 3-needle bind off to connect them together. But even that, like, the sleeves aren't too tight at all. They're the perfect fit, nice and cozy without being too snug. And yeah, body is knit in reverse stockinette. The sleeves are in stockinette. 1x1 rib. Like I said, I did everything to what was called for in the pattern other than the sleeves being longer. So very, very happy with the outcome, and definitely highly recommend the pattern. So I am going to take this off because it is 30 degrees Celsius out today. This morning already. It's like crazy early, and I can't believe how warm it is already. So I'm going to take this off before I melt, because I have umbrella lights on me, and a wool sweater is not a good idea when it's this warm out and you can't have the fan on, and yeah, no. So I'm going to take this off, I'll get changed, and I'll be right back to show you guys my second finished object. So the second finished object that I have to show you guys today is my sweet Sadie Socks. I think this was a new cast on my episode 2 weeks ago, episode 16. These are a gift, so they are knit a little bit bigger. They fit me decently, but they're a little bit loose on my feet. This is a pattern by Elissa Greenlaw, and it uses a non-traditional cuff. It has a picot cuff, so I will give you guys a look at these socks. So I cast on 64 stitches for these socks. They are knit top down, and the picot cuff is done in a unique way where it's actually double thick. So you cast on with a provisional cast on, you knit up, and then you fold it over and seam the two together, and then continue knitting your sock, which I like, but I have to say, like, you can tell it definitely makes for a looser cuff. So these just finished blocking this morning. They were dry when I woke up. So I did purchase some elastic thread, and I'm going to be weaving that in on the inside of the cuff just so it doesn't have a chance of stretching out anymore. I don't want to make it any tighter, just because I'm worried the recipient of these socks will have a hard time getting it up on their foot, especially since they've never had hand knit socks before, so they don't really fully understand the fit of a hand knit sock, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, these are knit to a size 8 basically, and I usually knit about a size 6.5 for myself, so they're definitely a little bit bigger. But it's interesting that they do fit me so well. Like, they're a little long, yeah, but otherwise they fit me not too bad. So I'm gonna pull these off of the blockers just so I can give you guys a little bit better of a look at the lace on the front. So I think if I was to knit these for myself, just because, like I said, they're a little bit loose, more so in the foot, because I usually with a pattern sock I would cast on 64 stitches for myself as well. So I think if I was to knit them for myself, I knit these on a 2.25 millimeter needle, a US 1. I think I would drop down to a 2 millimeter needle, and I think that would fix the problem for me. And I should mention as well, I don't think I've said the yarn that I used for these. This was The purple here is leftovers from a Woolberry Fiber Co. Gilmore Girls sock set. I believe it was called in Omina Paratus. And then the blue on the heels and the toes is just an unknown mini I had kicking around. I think it was from the 2018 Woolberry Fiber Co. Christmas Advent, but I'm not 100% sure. It was just in my bin of minis. So yeah, I'll give you a peek at the lace on the front. It's a really simple pattern. I believe it's an 8-row repeat. And it was, I didn't have the whole pattern memorized, but every second row was the same, or all the even rows were the same throughout the whole sock. So I was able to memorize those, and that definitely made the sock fly. Plus, not having to knit a whole leg made the sock fly. So yeah, like I said, I'll be sewing in the elastic thread on these, but I figured I didn't have to have that done to show these as a finished object to you guys. So sew in that elastic thread and I will get these off to my friend tomorrow. And yeah, I would highly, highly recommend this pattern. Even just for the picot cuff. I'm actually, and you'll see a little bit later on, I'm actually using this picot cuff on another pair of socks that I have cast on. Okay, I had forgot to grab my vanilla knitting out of my purse, my car knitting. So this is this month, August's pair of Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I am knitting a pair of these socks every month of this year for her yearly knit along. Basically what the idea of it is that every month you knit a pair of socks in her yarn, you start and finish it in that month, and if you can knit a pair of socks in her yarn for all 12 months of the year, you receive prizes, basically. So this is the pair of socks that I have started for the month of August. They are in a bag by Sandy by the Lakeside. I think I've shown this on the podcast before. I am not sure if she still has this fabric. It may have been an exclusive fabric for something, but I'm not 100% sure. I will of course link her shop down below, and then if you want to contact her and ask if she still carries this fabric, you're more than welcome to. And this is the self-striping yarn that I am using for the month of August. This colorway is called Peppermint Slice. It is the first colorway I think I have used from Desert Vista Dyeworks that only has 3 colors for the stripes. But I'm loving it. Like usual, this is my like movie theater knitting and car knitting, and whenever I don't want to pay attention to what I'm knitting. So I'm just pulling my progress keeper off because I did not have these started last episode. But I like to have the progress keeper on when I go knit in a movie because then I can tell how much I actually knit. So these guys are, or this guy is about ready to have the heel put in. I've mentioned before that when I'm doing socks that I'm going to have afterthought heels in, the first sock I put the afterthought heel in before I do the toe, just so I can line it up in the middle of a stripe and I know that the sock is going to fit me perfectly. And then I will go along and mark every 10 rows with stitch markers so that I know where to put the heel in on the second sock exactly when I get to it. So yeah, since last episode I have done a lot on these socks. We've gone to a movie, we've drove a lot, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I've just been working on these more than I thought, because this seems like a lot for halfway through the month. Usually I'm rushing at the end of the month to get both of my pairs of socks done, but I won't say too much more about these. I always use 2.25 millimeter needles for my socks. I like to use Xiaogu red lace and usually a 100 centimeter 40-inch cord. I find that's the best way for me to prevent laddering on my socks. And I have done a 2x2 rib on my cuff. 60 stitches is what I cast on, and I usually do my cuff for 15 rows or rounds. If I do any more than that, I find I tend to get super duper bored. So that is my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks for the month of August in the colorway Peppermint Slice. Oh my gosh, I am winded. Why did I run down the stairs to grab these socks? I don't know. I shouldn't run. Well, I should run because exercise is good for you, but no. I should not run when I'm going to have to come back and sit down and talk to a camera and breathe normally. Yeah. Okay, so here's a funny story. I believe it was an episode or two ago that I said I was going to take a break from knitting my Woolberry Fiber Co. Gilmore Girls sock sets. Whoops. I cast on August 2018, or the colorway from the August 2018. That still makes no sense. I cast on the Woolberry Fiber Co. Gilmore Girls sock set from August 2018. This color or sock set is called Vicious Trollup. I believe it's named after an actual episode. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous. It's like a pale pink with a lot of flecks or speckles of this, I don't know if you would call it magenta or fuchsia, as well as some really neon yellow speckles, some orange, lots of fun colors. And I forgot to show the bag. This is in one of my favorite bags by Birch Grove. These are the perfect sock bags. I think I say it every episode when I pull one out, but they are some of my favorites. And the socks that I have cast on in this lovely sock set are the Irving Socks by Jaclyn Salem. This pattern has been sitting in my library. I guess if I want to knit something, if I know at some point I want to knit something, I usually will print it off and put it in a little plastic sleeve, and I have a binder full of all of the patterns that I would like to knit one day, which is funny because my mind changes so much and stuff gets forgotten. But anyways, these are the Irving socks. Cover my face here so hopefully it focuses on the socks. It's an absolutely beautiful pattern. 6-row repeat, very easy to memorize for how complicated it probably looks. And the back of the sock has these beautiful purl ridges running on it. So I cast on actually 66 stitches for this sock. I wasn't too worried about the sock being too loose because of the cables, because they're quite large cables, so they cinch in the sock pretty tight. And it seems to be fine so far. I did pull it up onto my leg yesterday when I was working on them, and they don't seem like they're going to be too loose. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. And I believe the pattern calls for a 1x1 rib. I did a 1x1 twisted rib just because I find that when I knit a 1x1 rib, I just don't like how it looks. It's usually too loose for my preference. But I have to say, I love how the cuff transitioned into the leg just with changing the colors. The pattern does have a setup round that's called for. I skipped that and instead just knit a round with the main color before I started the pattern on the sock, and that seemed to work really well. I wonder if that's part of the reason why it transitioned in such a neat way. But if I ever miss saying it, literally all my socks are knit on 2.25 millimeter needles, so these are knit on 2.25 millimeter needles. Now these are on the Chiagu mini twists, the interchangeable set, and I have to say these are my preference for knitting socks. The red lace cables are nice and all, but these ones are just so much more flexible and wonderful to work with. So Irving Socks by Jaclyn Salem, beautiful, highly recommend. looking forward to having the pair of these finished. Then I have one other new pair of socks that I have cast on, and they are not in Woolberry Fiber Co yarn. They are in a bag by Knit Two Together. She won't have this bag in stock, I know for sure, because this was part of a club with Long Dog Yarn a couple summers ago. It might have actually been August 2018 as well. But she does have many other beautiful bags in her Etsy shop, so I will be sure to link that down below for you guys. Now I had said earlier, actually I'll show you the color first. So this is a sock set from Maker's Haven. I believe this was from her Dawson's Creek club. I'm trying to get through all of my club yarns so that I can use stuff that's more readily available, I guess. But since these are going to probably be a gift, I'm not too worried about it being a club yarn. It's not like it's a pattern or something where you're going to be recommending the yarn to people to knit it and then they can't find it. So this is the sock set. This is in one of the Maker's Haven sock sets where it's just a 50-gram sock set, but I'm okay with that because I'm going to be knitting shorties out of this. And the name of this yarn, it's more a quote from the show than it is a name, so I'm going to read it off of the tag because I cannot memorize this whole thing. It's quite long. So it says, or the quote that this yarn was based off of was, "The simple act of being in love with you is enough for me, so you're off the hook." Now, I have not watched Dawson's Creek, so for you Dawson's Creek fans out there, I'm sure you know what that means. I don't. I just think the yarn is pretty. So I'm knitting it into socks. And now I have to try and get this yarn tag back, or ball band, back into the middle of my cake. Actually, that went quite well. So yeah, that is what I am using for this pair of socks. So like I had said earlier, I am combining the Picot cuff from the Sweet Sadie Socks with another pattern. And the pattern that I'm combining it with is the Cozy Autumn Socks by this Handmade Life. I cannot remember if this pattern is free or not. She does have a lot of free patterns available on Ravelry. So definitely take a look at this Handmade Life on Ravelry and see what they have available. But this is what I have so far. So Picot cast on, or Picot cuff. I cast on 60 stitches for this just because that was what the pattern called for, but it still has quite a bit of stretch, so I'm not too worried that the socks won't fit the recipient. And then yes, it has this beautiful mock cable. You can't really fully tell what's going on just yet. I'm gonna grab a blocker and pop it on there and see if that helps. Yeah, you can't really tell. The only spot that stretches it out enough is the heel, and it doesn't help too much. I've only done one repeat of the pattern, so it's really hard to tell what's going on. I will do one more repeat on the leg before I move into the heel flap and gusset on this pair of socks. So they will, I would still consider them shorties, but they'll be a little bit longer of shorties. So yeah, 60 stitches, 2.25 millimeter needles, and I'm really enjoying these. So I will use the contrasting color for the heel flap and gusset and the toe, kind of just exactly like I did on my Sweet Sadie socks. So yeah, not massive amounts of progress on those socks. I have a lot of new starts this episode, and I was hoping to have one more new start for you guys, but I'm still waiting on the needles to come in the mail. I am hoping to start the Novelle Tee by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks very soon. I think the needles are set to come tomorrow, so I'm really excited to swatch that and get it on the needles. I do have the yarn sitting beside me to show you guys though, so I will grab that and give you a peek. This yarn is by Cozy Posy Yarn Co. This is her 100% merino singles base. It is what is called for in the pattern. When I saw this pattern coming out, I knew that I wanted to grab the called for yarn, just because it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I did switch up the colors a little bit though. So for the body, I am using honeycomb. This is what was used on the original sample of the pattern, was honeycomb for the body. And then for the color work, I'm using maple and Luna Moth. Maple was used on the original pattern, Luna Moth was not. I believe it was a pale pink color, but pink really isn't my color, so I saw this beautiful Luna Moth colorway and knew it was perfect. So yeah, I'm so excited to cast this on. I'm just loving the cropped sweaters lately. The Weekender is not cropped, but it's going to be a cozy cold day sweater, so I don't really want it to be cropped, but with my high-waisted jeans, cropped sweaters look so pretty. So I'm really excited for the weather to get chillier so that I can wear them, because I cannot wear a wool sweater in 30-degree heat. So yeah, hopefully next episode I will have my Novelli tee cast on to show you guys. Yay! I just made a mess of my cake. I dropped it and my finger got caught. Dang it. So that is the knitting for this week. I feel like I haven't been talking for that long, but the clock says 30 minutes, so yeah. Yay, knitting. So let's move on to cross stitch. It's going to be a smaller portion again this episode, but I do have two things to show you this time. I am going to start with the one that is causing me grief. It is in, oh dear, I zipped a thread into my zipper and that's really frustrating. Dang it. Can I save, oh, don't pull it that way. I feel like this is something I should leave in because it might be kind of funny. There we go. So this is in a bag by Pretty Southern. I'm not going to flip it around because the pattern's in here and you'll be able to see it, but it's beautiful. You've seen it before. It's housed pretty much every single one of my Little House Needleworks monthly cross stitches. So this is the month of September and it's making me a little mad. I have messed up on this border so many times. This is, I think, the second or third time I've had to rip it out. So I started ripping it out. I have not finished ripping it out. Yeah, not great. Not too happy with it. But I need to just rip it out because if I don't, I'm never going to get it finished. So this is what I have done so far. The pink is correct. That is crab cakes, I believe. I'm using all the called for colors. This is 32 count natural linen. But the green I keep mucking up. I keep getting off one stitch and not noticing until I do something else. So you can see, if I hold this thread out of the way, that the crab cakes is going to knock into the green stitches there, and that is wrong. So yeah, I have a lot of green stitches to pull out. I believe those are in Avocado by Classic Colorworks. All of the colors are Classic Colorworks, so crab cakes is as well. But yeah, I need to just get that done this afternoon, maybe when I'm editing this episode, because I'm never going to touch it again if I don't get the mistake ripped out. So September, Little House Needleworks. They're pretty. This one is probably one of the prettiest ones. There'll be a picture on the side at some point to show you guys what it is supposed to look like. I love it, but it's making me quite angry. So that is that. And the other project that I worked on, another Pretty Southern bag. She uses this, which is reflecting this frosted vinyl on all of her cross stitch bags. And this pattern is Sunflower Manor by Hands On Design. And actually this is a fun story of mucking up as well, but this one I was able to fudge. So hold this up. I made a little mistake in, I think it's this leaf. This leaf. And by the time I noticed, I was so far in all the rest of this white that I was like, I am not ripping that out. So what I did was make sure that the leaf that matches it on this side had the same mistake. Everything else lines up the way the pattern says. This leaf is just short one stitch. So we'll see how that, I think what I'll do now that I've got that replicated on this side is do the house and then see where everything lines up from there and just continue to fudge it. You can't tell though at all, so I'm not terribly concerned, but yes, I'm enjoying this again. I had taken a little bit of a break from it just because I think I was tired of working on the black fabric. This is 28 count black Jaclyn. But now that I've pulled it out again, I'm having a lot of fun. I am using all of the called for threads on this project as well. Apparently, and that's probably why I don't have a lot of cross stitch to show these past couple episodes, is because I keep messing stuff up and then it makes me mad and I just feel like knitting instead. So that is all I have to show you guys for crafting the past 2 weeks. I hope you guys found some inspiration, and hopefully I'll have lots to show you guys in the next 2 weeks. We do have a lot of guests coming over. My family is coming to visit, and then right away when they leave, we have some friends coming to visit. So my life is going to be a little bit crazy for the next couple weeks. So hopefully I have some knitting time. I'm very good at knitting and talking, so that's my hope, that I'll have lots of knitting done. But I'm really looking forward to our guests coming to visit us and to get to spend time with them, since we don't really live close to where we grew up anymore, my husband and I. So I'm extremely looking forward to having them visit, and they haven't been having very nice weather back home, so for them to come to visit us in 30-degree weather will be a wonderful, wonderful vacation for them, I hope. So yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. Like always, if you have any questions, please ask me down below. If you like what you saw today, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications every time I upload, because I know YouTube isn't very well or very good at telling you guys when people upload new videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys again in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.